Tonight, new details have been uncovered in the case and murder of 17-year-old Jordan Davis. Good evening. I'm Rockman Johnson. You're watching Bounce TV News at 7. Now, you may remember Jordan Davis as the young man who was gunned down with friends in an SUV at a Southside Jacksonville gas station. Now, we're learning more about what investigators uncovered that night.
Not only did you shoot my son, but you tried to kill all the other 3 kids in the car.
Jordan Davis's father says the evidence and witness testimony speaks for itself. He doesn't believe Michael Dunn acted in self-defense when he shot his son. Rather, the man did it in a fit of anger. We obtained this affidavit from a recent court hearing from the state attorney's office. It includes the investigation from Mark Musser, the lead detective on the case. In it, he says although Dunn initially stated he saw the barrel of a shotgun coming from the SUV Jordan Davis and friends were riding in, quote, when advised no weapon was located, he stated he saw either a barrel or a stick. In the affidavit, the detective says Jordan's friends told him the teen was not in possession of a firearm and Davis did not have anything in his hands at the time of the shooting. I caught up with Michael Dunn's attorney to talk about the case.
We don't have to prove there's a gun in the car. That's been the misnomer from day one. All we have to prove is that Mr. Dunn had reasonable fear that he was going to be imminently in danger of his life or great bodily harm.
As we read further into the affidavit, the detective also talks about witness statements and says one person who saw the apparent argument over loud music, quote, heard the white male, who we now know is Michael Dunn, say, "You are not going to talk to me like that," before firing at least 9 shots into the passenger side of Davis's SUV. Investigators say as Dunn was shooting, the driver of the SUV drove away into a nearby parking lot. Then Dunn and his fiancée drove off. The boys returned about 90 seconds later and called 911. Dunn didn't.
He left the scene only because he was afraid that they were going to come back and either retaliate and shoot him or come back with other people.
Attorney John Phillips is representing Jordan Davis's family in a civil suit. He believes the evidence from this affidavit proves that Michael Dunn was not acting in self-defense and is guilty of what he's charged.
He basically told the boys, "You're not going to talk to me like this." And, you know, that says it all. This was a man that got angry and for whatever reason resorted to gun violence.
Yes.
Now, right now, the alleged shooter, Michael Dunn, has invoked the stand your ground defense, and Dunn has been in jail since November, and a trial date has yet to be set. We have on Skype with us Kwame Thompson from Wooderson and Thompson. Kwame, thanks so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me, it's Jordan Davis. I know you're our resident legal so far. Jordan Davis, I know you've looked at the case extensively, and it's something that, I mean, what's next? The guy has been in jail. The judge right now is looking at whether he should have bail or not. But looking at the legal merits of this case, and of course Florida's stand your ground law, which is controversial, where do you see the next steps going?
Well, I think that this is definitely a tragedy. The Florida stand your ground law is definitely not applicable here. And of course, bond has not been set. And I had a chance to review the judge's order also. And under Florida law, if the evidence so proves and there's a presumption of guilt, then there is not a right or a duty to a defendant to have that bond set pre-trial. So I think the judge was right on point right there by denying any bond. But the Florida Stand Your Ground statute states that a person is justified in the use of deadly force if they reasonably believe that that force is necessary to prevent another crime or a forcible felony or imminent death. I think that we don't have that here. We had an argument that pursued between these 2 men, and we now know that the defendant, Mr. Michael Dunn, became angry, belligerent, and was actually firing at the vehicle as they were fleeing the scene.
Right.
So I don't believe that the self-defense of stand your ground is even applicable in this case.
And Kwame, you know, as I was looking at, I talked to the state attorney's office earlier today, and they were saying that there was new video that was released that said the guys in the car drove away. And so the defense was saying that they drove away and left the scene, but actually it was now brought to fruition that they drove away for 90 seconds and came back because they were just trying to get out of the hail of gunfire. Does that make a difference as well?
Well, I don't know if that too much makes a difference, because I think that the reasonable person would flee if you were being shot at.
Yes.
And we now know that there were over, 9 gunshots fired
9
into
bullets.
this vehicle.
Yes, yes.
Now, the problem is that Michael Dunn fled the scene, and he did not call the cops, he did not call the authorities, he did not report the crime.
Interesting, interesting. Kwame, thanks for analyzing that with us. And, you know, I want to talk about politics. Can you stay with us for a moment? There are a couple political questions I have for you. If you can just stay with us.
Yes, I will.